What does it mean to lose everything, only to find something worth more than gold? 5 years ago, I stood at the edge of a life I thought was mine forever. My name is Daniel Harper, and back then, I had it all, or so I believed. A thriving bookstore in the heart of the city, a cozy apartment filled with laughter, and Emily, my wife, whose smile once felt like home. But life has a way of unraveling dreams, doesn't it? The bookstore went bankrupt, our savings vanished, and Emily walked away, her parting words cutting deeper than any blade. "You're nothing without your ambition, Dan. I need more than a dreamer." Today, I stood outside the grandest venue in town, the Crystal Pavilion, watching as Emily prepared to marry again. The invitation had arrived like a ghost from the past, slipped into my mailbox with no explanation. I shouldn't have come. I'm not the man I was. My suit is secondhand, my shoes scuffed, my life pieced together from odd jobs and a small rented room. But curiosity, or maybe something deeper, pulled me here. The pavilion gleamed under the midday sun, its glass walls reflecting wealth I could barely comprehend. Guests in tailored suits and glittering gowns flowed through the entrance, their laughter sharp and carefree. I lingered across the street, unnoticed, until Emily's voice sliced through the air. "Daniel? You actually showed up?" She stood before me, radiant in her wedding gown, diamonds sparkling at her throat. Her eyes, once warm, now held a glint of disdain. "Look at you," she said, her voice dripping with pity. "Still chasing dreams that'll never come true. My fiancé, Richard, built an empire. What do you have? A shelf of dusty books and regrets?" Her words stung, but I held my ground. "I came to wish you well, Emily," I said quietly. "That's all." She laughed, a sound that echoed with cruelty. "Well, enjoy the view from out here. You don't belong inside." She turned on her heel, her gown sweeping the pavement, and disappeared into the venue. I stood frozen, her words looping in my mind. Was she right? Had I become nothing? As I turned to leave, a voice stopped me. "You're Daniel, aren't you?" A young woman stood nearby, her face unfamiliar but kind. She wore a simple dress, out of place among the opulence, and her eyes held a quiet intensity. "I'm Sarah, Richard's sister. I need to talk to you." I frowned, confused. "About what?" She glanced nervously toward the pavilion. "Not here. Please, just follow me." Against my better judgment, I followed her to a small cafe down the street. Over steaming cups of coffee, Sarah's story poured out. Richard, the man Emily was about to marry, wasn't the flawless tycoon he appeared to be. His empire, built on real estate and tech investments, was a house of cards. Sarah had discovered documents proving he'd been funneling money into offshore accounts, dodging taxes, and worse, defrauding small businesses to fuel his lavish lifestyle. "He's charming, but he's a liar," she said, her voice trembling. "Emily doesn't know. No one does. But I saw your name in his files." "My name?" I leaned forward, heart pounding. Sarah nodded. "Years ago, Richard bought out your bookstore's lease. He forced it under, Dan. He wanted the property for one of his developments. Emily, she knew." The revelation hit like a tidal wave. Emily had known. All those nights she'd comforted me as the bookstore crumbled, her tears and promises they were lies. My hands shook as I gripped the coffee cup. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I can't stand by and let him ruin more lives," Sarah said. and because I think you deserve to know the truth before she walks down that aisle." I sat in silence, the weight of her words sinking in. The bookstore wasn't just a failure, it was stolen. Emily hadn't just left me, she'd betrayed me. And now, she was marrying the man who'd orchestrated it all. "What do you want me to do?" I asked, my voice hoarse. Sarah's eyes met mine. "Confront him. Not for revenge, but for everyone he's hurt. I have the documents. I'll get them to you, but you have to act fast. The wedding's in an hour." I didn't know if I had the strength. The man Emily mocked was still inside me, battered but alive. I thought of the small community that had rallied around my bookstore families, students, dreamers like me. They deserved justice. I deserved it. Sarah slipped me a USB drive with the evidence and a plan: get into the wedding, find a way to project the documents for all to see. It sounded insane, but the fire in her eyes gave me courage. I slipped back to the pavilion, blending into the crowd with a borrowed waiter's jacket from Sarah's friend at the venue. My heart raced as I moved through the glittering ballroom, the USB drive burning a hole in my pocket. The ceremony began. Emily stood at the altar, radiant and oblivious. Richard, tall and polished, smiled like a king claiming his throne. I found the AV booth, empty during the vows, and plugged in the drive. My hands trembled as I opened the files: bank statements, emails, contracts exposing Richard's fraud. Then, a twist I hadn't expected. As I prepared to project the documents, a man grabbed my arm. "What do you think you're doing?" It was Richard's lawyer, a wiry man with sharp eyes. Sarah hadn't mentioned him. Panic surged, but I saw the screen flicker to life behind him. The files were already loading. "You don't want to do this," the lawyer hissed. "Walk away, and I'll make it worth your while." For a moment, I wavered. I had no money, no power. But then I thought of Emily's mocking words, of the bookstore I'd poured my heart into, of the people Richard had crushed. "No," I said, shoving past him. The screen lit up. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Richard's secrets spilled across it: numbers, names, lies. Emily's face paled as she turned to Richard, who stood frozen, his charm crumbling. Guests whispered, then shouted. Security rushed toward me, but Sarah appeared, blocking their path. "Let them see," she yelled. Richard's voice boomed, trying to regain control. "This is a mistake. A setup." But the evidence was undeniable. Emily stared at him, her dream unraveling as mine once had. She didn't look at me, but I didn't need her to. This wasn't about her anymore. As security dragged me out, I heard the chaos erupt: guests demanding answers, Richard stammering excuses. Outside, Sarah caught up to me, breathless. "You did it," she said, a smile breaking through her fear. "I didn't do it for me," I said, surprising myself. "I did it for everyone he hurt." She nodded, understanding. "What now?" I looked back at the pavilion, its glow dimmed by truth. "I keep going," I said. "I rebuild." Days later, the news broke: Richard's empire was under investigation. Emily vanished from the headlines, her wedding day a scandal. I didn't gloat. Instead, I started Smell a New Book cart in the park, sharing stories with anyone who'd listen. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Sometimes, I think about Emily's words. "You're nothing," she'd said. But she was wrong. I'd lost everything, but I'd found something she'd never understand, the strength to stand up, not for revenge, but for what's right. And in that truth, I was richer than she'd ever know.